amazing is just the amount of smoke that you could see coming from the parkway. We got off the 407 and it was already smoky and hazy. By the time we got into Gatlinburg, you could see maybe 20 feet in front of the vehicle.
Our main experience is in structural firefighting, so that to some people looked almost normal.
Our strike team leader met with the incident command up there, and they gave the KFD strike team the assignment of going to the Sugarlands Visitor Center, and they said we're predicting that within about an hour that's where the fire will be going.
As we made our way through Gatlinburg to get to the Sugarlands Visitor Center, there was no sign of any structural fires at that time. In our minds, we were only there for a wildfire.
There were still people on the street. You still had people eating Bubba Gump shrimp. There was people taking shots of moonshine on the street. It just shows you how rapidly this dynamic changed. At hour one, you had people standing on the street, and 3 hours later, we're looking at a total evacuation.
Honestly, what I expected was a long wait in the staging area. Perhaps maybe delivering water to the National Park Service.
We go to the Sugarlands and we're waiting for the fire to come to us. And we kept waiting and waiting. And as we're sitting there, we notice that the fire, we can see an orange glow on our left side and we can see an orange glow on our right side. And then we realized that the fire has completely went around us. We moved from the Sugarlands Visitor Center to the park headquarters and their supply depot. And whenever we pulled in there, that was really the first time that we had saw a large amount of fire.
30 seconds of awe and a minute of
terror.
Uh-oh, what's
Yeah,
next?
Terror. We had fire that was actually crowning the top of the trees, and crowning the top of the trees means that the fire is actually on the top of the tree, and it's moving from tree to tree rapidly. And it was actually moving downhill to our position. And that's not something that occurs often because typically fire travels uphill. It was time for us to actually evacuate and try to come back down because there was nowhere for us to go other than further into the park.
It was impressive. I'm not going to say that in a positive light. Never is tragedy impressive.
As we started back, it was probably the first time that myself felt a little fear.
You're coming back through that stretch of road. You're hearing trees crack.
I really hope I don't run this fire truck in the ditch because it's going to be a long time before we get help.
You're game planning on, okay, if we can't get this truck through there, what are we going to do?
We didn't have any radio communications, cell phone communications to speak of.
We couldn't, nobody in our strike team could make a call. We couldn't check Facebook, Twitter, nothing. We were literally without any kind of communication.
There won't be another time, and there never was a time that I had ever seen that amount of fire, and especially wildfire.
Then we entered back into town, and that's whenever we all had our moment of awe. If you looked on the left side, which is Ski Mountain, pretty much the whole mountain was on fire.
One of the most vivid memories I have of all of this is looking down towards Gatlinburg, where I knew those guys were, and just seeing the glow.
You could instantly look and see several of the large houses that had been there for years were fully engulfed in flames. The mountain itself, from top to bottom, all the way down to River Road to the very top, was on fire.
We don't see stuff like that.
To see it in person for the first time was very humbling. And then we would look back to the right side of the road toward the park vista. It was also on fire.
As firemen, you know, we're thinking 1,000 different things. We're thinking, wow, there's people up there. They're actively fighting fire. They're on a mountain. What's their water supply like?
Applying water directly on fire, and because of the wind conditions, he would whip right around and come right back to where we were at.
Tactically, are you thinking, how am I going to fight that?
Pretty much every piece of hose that we took up there, we had off the truck at one point.
How do we get anybody up there out of here?
And we were still getting 911 calls. We were getting reports of folks trapped up on Ski Mountain, up on Wiley Oakley, all of these different places.
We're going to make sure that we can get everybody out. The best to our knowledge, that's priority number one.
We were connected into our hydrant, and even with that, we still wasn't touching anything.
The apparatus there was anywhere, they held 300 to 1,000, maybe up to 1,500 gallons apiece. You can run that out in a minute to a minute and a half.
About 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning when I left out of Gatlinburg, I took a minute to drive through town on my way out, and it had cleared up enough that you could see what was going on around town, and it was just surreal to see the amount of devastation and damage.
We've seen, just like we talked about wildfires before, we've seen wildfires out west. It never happened here. It doesn't happen in East Tennessee. Then we finally get something of that magnitude, and it was very humbling to be a part of that night.